Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for your participation in our Veterans Day ceremony. I'm Robert Perry, a retired Air Force veteran, and I will be leading today's ceremony. Now I would ask Ms. Rachel Raposa to lead us in our national anthem, and I invite all of you to participate in the anthem.
Oh, 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 say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, and the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. And now, our Pledge of Allegiance, led by our veterans. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Jack was not able to be with us today, and I will not even pretend to be a man of the cloth, but I would ask for a moment of silence, please, for those veterans that have departed us since last year. Thank you. Woody? Ladies and gentlemen, to my left are a number of our veterans from Dighton. Today, they are an integral part of our everyday community. However, at one time in their lives, they put forth the extraordinary sacrifices required to keep our nation free. They represent every veteran that has ever served, starting with our first veteran in 1776 that gave us our nation, to every veteran since that time that has served and protected our nation. I now have the honor of introducing them to you. Veterans, when I call your name, please step forward and be recognized. Steve Clunan, United States Army. Mr. Dave Matthew, United States Air Force. Mr. Jeff Alley, United States Army. Mr. Steve Schott, United States Army. Mr. Hillary Farrell, United States Marine Corps. Mr. Robert Thacker, United States Navy. Mr. Robert Woods, United States Army. Mr. Patrick Menges, United States Army. Are there any other veterans out there that were not on my sign-up sheet? Would care to step forward and be recognized? All of our veterans and the sacrifices they made are the reason our nation exists today. I'd now like to take and read a poem to you. It's a rather long poem. It's titled, I Am a Soldier. It's written by Mr. Neil Leash. It was written and dedicated to all those defenders of our nation that lost their lives in the attack on the Pentagon, September 11th, 2001. I am a soldier, born to follow or lead, to serve my country in its time of need, to protect our great nation with my heart and my soul, to preserve our new freedoms was one of my goals. I joined in the struggle, a new nation to forge, and fought with my brethren to run off King George. Severely outnumbered, red coats everywhere. To continue the fighting was so hard to bear. Finally it was over. Fighting came to a close. From the ashes of tyranny, a new great nation arose. I returned to my family, no longer a boy, but a man and a soldier with a heart full of joy. I am a soldier, keeping rifle at hand. In defense of our nation, we open a new land. I have sworn to protect with all of my might a republic of freedom based on that which is right. I am a soldier who is sickened at heart at a nation in danger of breaking apart. More than just vanity has brought us this far, fighting brother on brother in a great civil war. There will never be peace in the land of the free if we fail as a nation in the wisdom to see that our Constitution provides for each man's equal due, not just for the many at the expense of the few. I am a soldier who has fought the Great War in the trenches of France with a passion to score. In the name of what's holy, in the name of what's right, against the enemies of liberty, I carried the fight. From the beaches of Normandy to Iwo Jima's sand, soldiers died by the thousands in some far distant land. They shared the noble reasons for the lives that they gave, for the land of the free and the home of the brave. I am a soldier, not a demon, as some people believe, for it is not in my nature to kill or cause grief. I would rather take up a far greater cause, turning sword into plowshare without a pause. It is much better world when we sleep and devise all of those wonderful musings where our hopes come alive. I am a soldier with conscience and wish I knew how to use all my power to make dreams come true. I am a soldier standing guard through the night, supported by others who join in the fight. To do what it takes, we work as a team so that others can share America's dream. There are those in this world full of anger and hate who tear down our country. They stand at our gate. That so many people have died at their hand should send out a message throughout our great land. I will take up the battle for the families who cried, for the loss of their loved ones who needlessly died. Yes, I am a soldier, and I'll die if need be, for your right to be happy and your right to be free. Thank you. I would now ask Selectman Lenny Hull to read a proclamation from the state.
Honored veterans, ladies and gentlemen, Chairman Peter Karen, Nicole Mello of the Board of Selectmen, Town Administrator Mullen. Greetings and thank you, gentlemen, for your service. I have the privilege of reading to you a proclamation from the the Governor of the Commonwealth. Whereas since the Commonwealth's earliest days, thousands of men and women have served our country in defense of freedom and liberty. And whereas on November 11th, 1918, after 4 years of conflict, the armistice was signed in the forests of Compiègne by the Allied nations and Germany, ending World War I, the war to end all wars. And whereas since that day, every November, people from around the nation have gathered to honor our veterans. And whereas in November 2023, the world will commemorate the 105th anniversary of the armistice that ended the fighting in World War I at 11 a.m., November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And whereas there are approximately 300,000 veterans living in Massachusetts, and whereas today we are reminded of the great sacrifices and contributions our veterans have made to our country, and whereas we honor and salute those who served our country throughout the generations with honor, patriotism, and courage, and whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who served their country, so that their dedication and sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. And now, therefore, I, Maura T. Healey, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2023 to be Veterans Day, and urge all residents of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. Given at the Executive Chamber in Boston, this 11th day of November in the year 2023, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 247th, by Her Excellency Maura T. Healey, Governor of the Commonwealth. Kimberly Driscoll, Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth. William Francis Galvin, Secretary of the Commonwealth. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Hull. Now, we're going to hear from retired First Sergeant and former Selectman, Mr. Patrick Menges.
We can do this. Considering forward now. 6 years ago, I was walking at Sweet Snow State Park, and I encountered a young man, a student at Bristol County Agricultural High School, who was taking a break from his work in the dairy. He was an impressive student. He was mature beyond his years. And for 6 years, every month, he and I have walked through the woodlot, of which I made him forest master. 17 years old, in charge of a very fertile hunting ground with a lot of hunters. And all I can say is he's done a magnificent job. I said every month we've walked through the woodlot for 6 years, except during the time that he was in basic training after graduation. Yesterday, I spent the afternoon in the woodlot with Noah Murray. In January, Noah will depart Dayton for Baghdad, where he will be stationed for a year as a combat medic. Needless to say, the Middle East at this time is a very dangerous place. 43 attacks have been made on American installations since the eruption of the conflict between Palestine and Israel. I should say the Palestinians, Hamas, and Israel. And only 3 days ago did we eliminate the ordnance and launching site in Syria from which those attacks came. I am not a combat veteran. I served 20 years, 17 of them in the infantry, but I did not see combat. Nevertheless, as our young men and women answer the call of their nation in these troubled times, all of us who have served and had the privilege of learning what the sacrifice entails have a responsibility. We are looked up to by those who are going over for encouragement, for maybe some word about tactics or some trick that might save a life or win a battle. Unfortunately, no amount of experience guarantees that anything that we say can be of any help. But we have the responsibility to pass along what saw us through, and that is our faith in the justice and might of a higher power. I can tell you that I will miss my walks in the woods for the next 12 months with Noah Murray. We have other young men in town who also are likely to see being stationed in the Middle East during these troubled times. Dan Ferreira, who's going to the University of Maine, is also a combat medic in the Maine National Guard at the moment, from Sandpiper Way. His grandfather was a Taunton school principal. He recently passed away. Well, I exhort all veterans to remember that our duties have not abated. We still have a country that needs to be defended. And we need to give all the encouragement and support that we can to those who will actually be shouldering the rifles. Colonel Perry honored me and humbled me by asking me to deliver a recitation today written by a soldier in Vietnam in 1970, Charles Province. You have to imagine a soldier who has been out on patrol in the danger, come back to tell about it. And you have to remember the times. Vietnam was not the most popular war that America ever committed itself to say the least. And this soldier's poem, the soldier's recitation, which I'm going to deliver, is a response to the public concern about the politics of the matter. And also, when I'm reading it, please, when I say it is the soldier, bear in mind it is the soldier the airman, the sailor, and the marine. When I finished this recitation, I have one other part to add to my remarks today. But I'm going to read this first as it was written. It is the soldier, not the minister, who has given us freedom of religion. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us the freedom to protest. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the soldier, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protester to burn the flag. I want to tell you how spot on Charles Province is, but he didn't realize it, because what I'm about to say is not the vein in which he wrote this piece. It is the soldier, not the minister, who has given us freedom of religion. On the 3rd of February, 1943, the USS Dorchester was torpedoed off the coast of Greenland. It was a troop-carrying ship, and there were hundreds of soldiers on board bound for Europe. 4 chaplains, Dutch Reformed, Methodist, a Jewish rabbi, and a Roman Catholic priest, handed out as many life vests as they could lay their hands on, and when there were no more, they took their own life vests off, knowing they were going to perish, and handed them to soldiers whose lives may have thereby been saved. It was the soldier in them, and it was their love of a soldier and knowing what it takes to defend that impelled them to their contribution to the defense of freedom of religion. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. When I was a young man, the publisher of the New York Times was Arthur Hayes Sulzberger, who in his office proudly displayed the seal of the United States Marine Corps in which he had served. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. I'm going to read a little excerpt from another famous public document. When men have come to believe that time has upset many fighting faiths, they may believe more than the very foundation of their own conduct, that the ultimate good desired is better reached by a free trade in ideas. The best test of truth is the power of the thought to get itself accepted in the competition of the market. And that truth is the only ground upon which their wishes can be safely carried out. That, at any rate, is the theory of our Constitution. It is an experiment, as all life is an experiment. Every year, if not every day, we have to wager our salvation upon some prophecy based upon imperfect knowledge. While that experiment is part of our system, I think we should be eternally vigilant against attempts to check the expression of opinions that we loathe and believe to be fraught with death, unless they so eminently threaten immediate interference with the lawful and pressing purposes of the law that an immediate check is required to save the country. That was the dissenting opinion of Civil War veteran Falls Bluff, Antietam, and Fredericksburg, Oliver Wendell Holmes, in Abrams versus the United States, 1919. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us the freedom to protest. And I realize it's distasteful to some, but we have to say, such a man was our own Senator Kerry. He had earned the right of protest on the battlefield, and he exercised it. I say the battlefield, on the water as well. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. When I was very young, District Court was on Court Street in Taunton, First District Court. And anybody was going to Taunton in the summertime or on Saturday morning, you know, at other times in the year. If I had the time, I used to get a ride to Taunton, but no thought of how I was going to get home, mind you. I used to love to go into First District Court and watch Judge Gordon Owen preside. And after court was over, Judge Owen, with his gray felt hat and a little red feather in it, he would walk to the Gazette where Joe Perry, the press room foreman, pushed the button for the newspapers to start rolling off the press. And he would go to the perfecting press, cut the first bale, take a newspaper, and hand it out the door to the judge every day. Judge Owen was a character. But what people don't remember about him was the 90th Infantry. He was a JAG officer, and he helped assemble the material for the prosecution of the war criminals at the end of World War II. It was the soldier in Judge Owen that saw to it that defendants in his courtroom had a fair trial, such as defendants could not get in the country where he had served in war. It is the soldier, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. John Kennedy had his PT boat shot out from under him in the South Pacific and kept his men alive in shark-infested waters for 24 or more hours until they were rescued. It was President Kennedy. His brother had perished over the English Channel in the war. And on November 22nd, 1963, while serving his country, he was called upon to give his own life. He gave it. It was President Kennedy's initiative that resulted in the Voting Rights Act of 1965, 2 years after he was assassinated. And finally, It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protester to burn the flag. And I will conclude with words of scripture spoken by Jesus Christ. Greater love hath no man than this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Benjis. And now a few words from former Selectman Nancy Goulart.
Good morning, everyone. Feel free to sit. I know it's cold. I don't know if it's warm. Those seats are going to be warm, but if you feel like it, please feel free to sit. Good morning, everyone. I want to point out a couple of things. I have two very brief poems I want to read. I've talked about this stone before. This recognizes Silas Talbot, who was the second commander of Old Ironsides. Born in Dighton, youngest of 18 children. When his father died, he was assigned to become a stonemason. Well, that didn't work out because at age of 12, he was on a ship being a cabin boy. But he eventually settled down. He did join the military. He was appointed captain of the Army. He continued in that and became a lieutenant colonel eventually. But he was also named by George Washington as a captain in the Navy because at the time, that was the first Navy. We didn't have a Navy back then. But he ended up being the second commander. The other thing I want to mention to you is yesterday afternoon, I took a ride to Patriots Place, and I think you've probably seen on television, Boots on the Ground. Very, very impressive. It's open today until 8 o'clock. It's open tomorrow from 9 to noon. Then it goes away. There's no cost to it for admission. It was not overly crowded when I was there. If you want to go and spend some time just to see what it's like to experience it, I recommend you do it. And I even went up in the lighthouse. There is a charge for adults, $5 to go up to the lighthouse. Unless you are active, military, a veteran, retired, or a child under 10. So if you're looking for something to do this weekend, more in line with what we're doing here today, I suggest you take a ride up to Patriots Place. If you've ever seen the flags at Memorial Day on the National Cemetery in Bourne, it's very reminiscent of this. And if you were to look at our field and look inside the grass, the football field from Old Dighton High, picture that full of boots with flags in them. You'll also see, if you go, flowers stuck in them by the family members who came to visit I'll call it the booth that recognizes their loved one. But it is certainly worth something to see. Both of these poems were written by Kelly Roper, and she has written, I'll say, lots and lots. But in any case, the first one is entitled The Call to Duty. The call to duty is sent out, and the strong and the brave reply. They do it for love of country, so there's never a need to ask why. They leave behind all that they love, their families, their homes, their lives, because to preserve these precious things is the goal for which each soldier strives. So God bless our troops, the courageous men and women who fight to make sure the bells of freedom peal again. And this last one is entitled, Welcome Home. To those who fought on foreign soil, who for our nation did perilously toil, who braved the bombs and bullets and mines to return home to more peaceful times, a hearty welcome home. To those who fought on foreign soil, whose lives have been marred by the enemy's toil, who now must rebuild body, mind, and soul, and returning to normal is now the goal. A supportive welcome. To those who fought on foreign soil, whose lives did end through dangerous toil, to arrive home, flag draped, silent and still, and rest in peace beneath the grass on the hill, a reverent welcome home. Thank you.
In closing remarks, again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for participating in today's ceremony. In closing, I ask you to keep this in mind. Every time you see our stars and stripes waving majestically in the breeze, every person that enters the armed forces takes an oath. In part of that oath, they swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. That is a promise to protect everyone in our nation from any other nation or leader or terrorist that will seek to destroy our nation, take away our freedoms, and destroy our way of life. Our flag, the flag that represents our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, is there because our veterans, all of our veterans, have made their sacrifices throughout our history, the sacrifices necessary for us to continue to lead our lives as a free people in a free nation. So God bless all of our veterans. God bless the United States of America, home of the free, because of the brave. Thank you. For anyone interested, there are refreshments down in back. Okay, and again, I want you to take a good look. The word veteran tends to roll off people's tongues. Okay, and everybody's a hero today. There are heroes right there. Real American heroes. Thank you.
Pull up.